Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. Yesterday I uploaded a video about the Bigfoot body in 1962, and I read to you the newspaper reports. I read to you a document written by Dr. H.A. Miller about the body, and now I want to kind of explain who this Dr. H.A. Miller is, or is thought to be. Back in 2012, a lady named Linda Newton Perry received a letter from a lady named Sophia. At least we think it's Sophia. It could be an alias. Linda runs the Bigfoot Ballyhoo website, and she also has a YouTube channel. I'll link both of those in the description below. You should check those out. There's plenty of videos and lots of information there. You'll also find these documents written out so you can go in and read them yourself and get a better idea of what's going on. But anyways, she received a letter, and I'm going to read that letter to you. It's pretty brief, but it's very interesting. So, dear Linda, I'm not clear as to the best way to handle a manuscript written by my grandmother's half-brother. He died in 2005. He had no children or relatives who live except my grandmother. Apparently he sent a box and left it in the box, without my knowledge or my mother's. It was in the attic of my grandmother since 2005. Amazing age of 92, my grandmother recently passed away, and my mother and I were going through his things. Found this manuscript. I do not know if it's authentic, but I want to share it with anyone who might know what to do with it. English is a second language, so I look to you, Linda, to be the nicest person on the internet right now when it comes to Bigfoot. Then I'll send it to you. Written original manuscript is by hand, and it has been neglected, so a friend transcribed it to write to you. I do not know what to do with the original, so we have sealed it by a hora. You have full permission to read the manuscript below, titled, "The following was written by Dr. H.A. Miller," on your YouTube blog. Sincerely, Sophia. I don't know what by a hora means. It says that in the end, so we have sealed it by a hora. If any of you know what by a hora means, please let me know. So this manuscript that was found and sent in, it's kind of lengthy. I'll put a link below to the actual page where it's written out on Linda's website. That way you can actually go through it yourself. But I'll quickly read through it, and by quickly I mean slowly, because it's probably going to take a while. I hate reading out things that are lengthy like this just as much as you do, but I'm going to do it anyways. So this is going to give us an idea, this document. This is like the actual Miller document, they call it. This is kind of like an autobiography on this guy that he apparently wrote. Just overviewing his life and his involvement on the Bigfoot subject. So, the following was written by Dr. H.A. Miller, now deceased. Born in New England, December 12, 1909, I was the first and only child of Christiana and Arthur Miller. My mother died in childbirth, and I was subsequently raised by my father until remarried to a Frenchwoman when I was 12 or 13 years of age. Soon after their marriage, she bore a baby girl. I finished my high school education while living with my father, stepmother, and half-sister. There's a part in brackets here where it says there's an entire section that couldn't be transcribed because the handwriting was bad. It goes on to say, I remained in New England for my undergraduate work. I thoroughly enjoyed the outdoors, the ocean, and forestry. My undergraduate studies focused on forestry and land management. While in my junior and senior year, I was employed by the federal government. I worked at Lockwood Farm, which is part of the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station. I learned about hybridization in agriculture and enjoyed the hard outdoor work in the cornfields. I began to find great interest in the scientific workings happening with corn seed at the time. I completed an additional year in forestry science and graduated from Yale University in 1931. I labored at Lockwood Farm for years and gained great interest in science and medicine. By this time, I did hope to attend medical school and become a physician. I expeditiously applied for medical school and was accepted to Harvard and began my medical training in 1938. I graduated from Harvard Medical School in the early 1940s, and I completed residency and fellowship at Harvard and began a very specialized career at the time in orthopedic forensic surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. Because of my previous work with the USDA, I was quickly employed by the federal government. My early years as a physician related mostly to providing medical support to various employee types within the USDA and Forest Service. I also became the forensic expert and anatomist for the USDA and was called to examine most major accidental deaths of USDA and Forest Service servicemen. Due to my interest in genetics and early experiences in agriculture hybridization, I was assigned to scientific teams which investigated the physical nature of genetics. Our early experiments determined that DNA is the component of the chromosomes where genetics should be studied. This, along with the efforts of several other scientists, led to the discovery of the double helix structure in the early 1950s. It was this same time that several of our team members were called to Bandera County, Texas, where the forestry scientists and biologists assigned to Edwards Plateau reported the dead bodies of a strange type of human. The first reports I received were speculating that they were feral humans from the local Comanche Indian tribes. The bodies were supposedly found in or around one of the massive caves within the Edwards Plateau area. When I arrived in Texas, I was surprised to find 3 bodies, 1 adult female and 2 female juveniles. I examined them as I typically would any human subject, but to my dismay, one of these creatures seemed to be alive. I became quite upset with the local scientists, but they reassured me that they confirmed all 3 were deceased. After further investigation, I found that these creatures were not human. They in fact had a remarkable, rapid reparative process, hence the reason one of the creatures seemed dead, but in fact was regenerating to a degree. Unfortunately, the restorative abilities of the creature were not enough to keep it alive. They were massive in size and distinctly a new primate species unknown to science at the time. I spent years studying these creatures, which are scientifically known as Cebidae, confirming that they were most certainly not human. They were definitely of primate origin, but with traits seen in various species of primate, most of which were a New World monkey. Cebidae found in the San Antonio, Texas area very much howl like a howler monkey, quite frightening to hear at night. At one point early in the analysis, I found a great deal of similarity between these Bigfoot creatures and the howler monkey. That was until 1962. In late 1962, early 63, I was notified of a large human-like creature by the Redding Forest Service folks in California. I arranged for transport of the body to my primary location in Colorado. It was reported to me that this body was found under a large tree that had been violently struck by lightning and blown to the ground, apparently killing this large creature. So this here, it's talking about the 1962 Columbus Day Bigfoot body. And so this guy was eventually called and informed about that. So he had the body sent to Colorado. During my investigation, I found the animal to be very similar to those I had studied in the Bandera County area of Texas, with some marked differences. This northern version of Cebidae seemed to have the same New World monkey attributes I notated in the Texas animals, known today as Cebidae texicanus. However, there were unique traits found in the Pacific Northwest animal, known today as Cebidae pacificus, including thumbs that are not entirely opposable, as we see in modern humans. C. pacificus' entire hand was truly designed for grip, including proximal pads making the hand somewhat hooked-like, having flattened nails, resulting in my theory that these northern creatures developed an evolutionary arboreal nature, while the Texas subfamily developed a troglocene nature. The Pacific Northwest creature found in 1962 also had scent glands in their forearms. This is more evidence that Cebidae pacificus is arboreal to some extent, leaving scent marks up and down the tree while climbing. Not only was this creature smashed by the large tree, but she was also badly burned in areas of lightning prints on exposed skin. I notated in my medical examination report of the body that it seemed as though lightning struck the animal passing through the body and into the tree, subsequently weakening the tree and causing it to fall to the ground. It did seem as though the animal had fallen to the ground first, with the tree falling on top of her afterward, but the evidence as to whether the animal fell first or the tree is inconclusive. However, it's clear lightning struck the tree at a decent height of over 20 feet. Therefore, this animal must have been clinging to the tree at the time of the lightning strike. More evidence of the arboreal nature of Cebidae pacificus. Cebidae pacificus also had additional medial padding on the feet, which it would use to climb trees by clinging to the tree with its hands and support its weight. Both C. pacificus and C. texicanus have oversized lower jaws. This must have been due to their rugged diet and moreover their need to crush bones. Due to their jaw size and bone-crushing dentum, it's also clear that all subfamilies of this creature are omnivorous, predaceous, and opportunistic. We did find that the female killed during the Columbus Day storm was pregnant with monozygotic embryos. All female Cebidae bodies I've investigated throughout my career that have been pregnant have monozygotic embryos. This again incorporating additional evidence of a New World monkey relationship. Due to my investigations of the 1950s bodies in Texas and the 1960s Pacific Northwest Columbus Day storm body, I submitted to the Department of Agriculture that this is a new Platyrini species and that a new family under the Parvorder should be created. Fellow scientists of mine disagreed, given the fact that the creatures we examined in both cases were obviously bipedal and Carterini in terms of their nostrils facing downwards. However, the juveniles we have examined are much more platyrrhini in terms of nostril breadth and position. I won the debate in the end due to the fact that no evidence thus far demonstrates that these creatures crossed over from the Old World, but are simply New World monkeys adapting to their various staged areas within North and South America. I have since retired, and I know of some new University of Utah-based scientists in Idaho who understand the genetics a bit better. Their findings are only supporting my original theorems, or at least I am told. These molecular biologists will soon understand the similarities with humans once the Human Genome Project is complete. As a result, I still refer to the Sasquatch species as Cebidaetelidae with the following subfamilies: Cebidaetelidae arctos, Cebidaetelidae nerteropacificus, Cebidaetelidae somphos, Cebidaetelidae americanus, Cebidaetelidae texicanus, and Cebidaetelidae amazonia. Any of these species found outside of the New World must have originated from and migrated out of the New World. All of my experience with this primate has been post-mortem, save a few unique experiences in the wild. To my knowledge, a live specimen has never been captured, except for once in Northern Research Station in California. However, the animal did not survive in captivity and died after only several days. Of course, I examined the body. There were many rumors that this captured Sasquatch was somehow magical and could shapeshift, and that's why it couldn't be found. The truth is, the folks at Northern Research Station were very devastated and embarrassed that this live specimen died so quickly after being in captivity. So no, they are not magical. They are highly intelligent primates. Having one die in captivity is very difficult to witness due to the human nature and feeling about the species. In reality, captivity will never be realistic for Cebidaetelidae because of their size and complex brains. Similar to captive white sharks, the species cannot thrive in captivity and quickly die as a protective mechanism. I've spent a great deal of my career as an expert for the federal government concerning Cebidaetelidae and throughout the world, including the bodies recovered in the 80s due to the Mount St. Helens eruption. We made many recommendations to protect the species, but the DOI has constant concern regarding the impact of such a decision due to the vast number of areas this species inhabits. Such a decision would have potential negative impacts on the natural resource industry. The U.S. Forest Service is now working more towards creating protective wildlife refuges for Cebidaetelidae. And then there's a couple more sections that once again couldn't be transcribed because it's a terrible handwriting. The U.S. Forest Service and the DOI is recognizing now that the natural resource industry is not the economic center as it once was. So a final decision has been made to finalize the Class 1 identification of the species. There's a 20-year plan to incorporate all wildlife protection areas throughout many areas of the United States to ensure federal land protection for Cebidaetelidae, starting with California, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. I was upset by this decision because the first location the species was identified scientifically was Texas. I petitioned as a result, the government Canyon State Natural Area will be protected. The long-term plan will be to open each of these designated natural areas to the public. Once all of the designated Cebidaetelidae natural areas are open to the public, the DOI will announce the species as an endangered New World primate. I am not sure if this will happen, and the government Canyon State Natural Area will not be open to the public until 2005, and then expanded later in 2009, and then again in 2012. This will happen long after I am dead, I'm afraid. I'm currently still living in Colorado, and I've attempted to journal my experience with the discovery of this new massive primate. The species is amazing, powerful, and deadly if angered. Like any animal, it will protect itself, its food source, and its young at all costs. Artiodactylia are Cebidaetelidae's primary food source. It's imperative that the federal government continue to designate natural areas. Otherwise, a scarce food source available to Cebidaetelidae will result in more opportunistic feeding behavior and closer interaction between humans and Cebidaetelidae. These creatures and human beings simply do not coexist. So that's the Miller document. It's long and it's kind of hard to get through. But they have an actual name for the creature, like Cebidaetelidae nerteropacificus. Like there's actual taxonomy. Well, we don't know if it's actual yet, but it sounds good. Like there's 6 different ones listed here for different regions of its existence, which is kind of neat. So I don't know, some of the stuff they talk about is like, seems very realistic, and the wording and everything seems to check out. Because this was in the grandmother's possession. Like Sophia's the granddaughter. She found this in her grandmother's attic when she died. And apparently, H.A. Miller is the grandmother's half-brother. Or at least that's what it says. The grandmother's name was Evelyn Wentworth. And believe it or not, she was actually involved in the Bigfoot topic herself. And there's also field notes and documents written by her. They call them the Wentworth documents. And they're also very interesting. They're very similar to this Miller document. So they knew each other. Dr. Miller and Evelyn Wentworth knew each other. He didn't like the idea, basically, of a woman spearheading the Bigfoot discovery, and, you know, it was older times, so that was kind of the norm, but it's kind of crazy and sounds really bad today. But yeah, so that's where Miller comes in. And all of this was sent to Linda Newton Perry, and she has it all posted on her website, Bigfoot Ballyhoo. Like I said, I'll post links to that in the description and like links to this actual Miller document. But yeah, so this guy was studying the Texas bodies. Then he gets a call in 1962 that a body turned up that was crushed by the tree in the Columbus Day storm. So he has the body sent out to Colorado. He claims he was working for the government, and he was studying these bodies, and then eventually a plan was put in place to, you know, set aside natural areas for these creatures. And like there's more documents that I'm going to be going over later detailing these plans to have these areas set aside, which is very interesting. Like, we don't know who Sophia is, like I said, and it's most likely an alias. Like, nowhere ever has a photo of Sophia or Evelyn Wentworth turned up, as far as I know. I don't know, it's very interesting. There is a photo of Dr. Miller, apparently, and it's an older university photo from way back in the day, I think in the 1930s. Some of the things that are stated in this document are crazy, like the rapid regenerative process that the body is said to have, you know, where it can like heal itself really fast. Like, that's almost like a reptile, you know. A reptile can lose limbs and grow them back. It's almost similar to that in a way, or so it seems. And like scent glands in the forearms, that's very interesting. Apparently these are tree dwellers as well. There's a lot of claims in here, a lot of references to the USDA and Forest Service. It seems authentic the way it's written out. But there's got to be more people involved, right? He's not the only one that would know about this. There's got to be many more people. Like, there is the Wentworth document, which is also very interesting. A bunch of notes from the grandmother. I'll read that on the next episode of this series. Like I said, it gets really interesting. It goes really deep, and it's just... the whole thing's kind of mind-boggling, and it's really hard to string together. But if you want to try to string it together yourself, like, feel free to go to Linda's website. A lot of information is there that you can go over this stuff on your own, and it'll probably end up making a lot more sense to you when you can read it yourself. If this is real, if this document is real, then, you know, it's confirmation that a unknown biped exists and the government knows about it. That's the reason why this document and this whole story is very interesting, because it could be proof. It's just, how do we confirm that? That's the tough thing. Like, this happened so long ago, back in this, like, this was 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, a lot of these people that are involved in this are dead. So it's hard to get the answers that we want, unfortunately. Anyway, thanks for listening in to this video, especially if you had the patience to get through the whole thing. Like I said, if you weren't really retaining anything, click the link below, read the document yourself, and thanks for watching this episode of Mountain Beast Mysteries.